Hello, veterans, TKB employees, everybody watching. Hey, welcome to the VeteranLang channel here. As you can see, I'm back in the office now, getting a video put together for you. Definitely made it back from my trip. I appreciate your patience as I put out the not so good quality video for last week while I was traveling there. The family is doing good. The funeral was really good overall. It's always nice to be able to see people put their differences aside, just for the sake of the family. Um, so it was good overall. And when I think of putting differences aside, I think a lot of times that's what we have to try to do here too. In order to make a process smoother, we've got to remember to put those differences aside between veterans and VA. Personal opinions, VA is not part of your job. It's the idea of what the evidence shows and what the rules are. So let's put the differences aside of those opinions and let's get it done. Let's make it happen. And veterans, same. We're gonna get stressed out. We're gonna get frustrated with the system and the process. Uh, all we can do is try to be nice. Put those differences aside so we can come together and work together there. All right, I didn't come here to lecture you about putting differences aside and talk about everything that happened while I was away. But I am your friendly VA accreditation medical here to talk about more VA compensation, disability, or just VA benefits in general here as we try to make that process smoother for veterans and VA alike. You know, one thing I don't know if I've really done video-wise is just kind of an overview of the VA. A little bit of overview and a little bit of history of the VA. You know, one thing I always learned in life, and especially through law school, is it's always good to have a foundation that involves some of the history, where things came from, and how we got where we are. So let's do that today. Let's talk a little bit about the Department of Veterans Affairs. What ultimately is the mission? What's the pillars of the administration or of the department there? Those three pillars that we'll talk about. What's some of the history that led us to where we are today with the VA? So first thing I want to share with you is I don't know if many of you know that the VA is the second largest cabinet level department in the United States government, second only to the Department of Defense. So this is a huge department, huge mission, huge undertaking, many people involved. It is the federal agency that's responsible for providing the vital services to America's veterans. The mission of the VA is rooted ultimately in President Abraham Lincoln's second inaugural address in 1865. During President Lincoln's address, he stated that we need to care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow and his orphan. So the VA's mission is just that, to care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow and his orphan. Now, the language has changed a little bit over time to be more modernized and a little bit more inclusive, to include like caregivers and so forth. But the core principle still remains the same. The nation has a moral and legal obligation to care for those who served and their families. So that's the mission. That's the mission that VA has, and that's their mission statement to all veterans and their families. Now, for those who also don't know, there's three pillars of the VA. So if you're unaware, I think you will be fascinated by this. It's the Department of Veterans Affairs. This is our big umbrella up here. Now, from here, we branch down to three different administrations. Probably the biggest out of the three administrations is the Veterans Health Administration. So this is your healthcare system, veterans that you use, your hospitals, your clinics, your care facilities. That's one of our pillars, also known as VHA, Victor Hotel Alpha, for all my veterans out there. Then we have the veterans coming down, probably in the second pillar of this all. We have the Veterans Benefits Administration. That's the VBA, the Victor Bravo Alpha. Now, this is the primary arena that we here at Lang's Legal help veterans with. Now, this is where you're going to get your disability or your compensation benefits. Compensation, maybe a pension benefit if you apply for that type of benefit, which again is income-based. Compensation, which is your service-connected compensation piece of it all. You get a home loan that comes through the VBA side. The education GI Bill comes through the VBA side. Life insurance policies come through the VBA side. So these are all your big benefits that don't go through healthcare. So you got the healthcare side, and I got the benefits side. Now, you're probably wondering, then what's left? So it's our third pillar here. That's our National Cemetery Administration. So that's the NCA for short, the November Charlie Alpha. This manages the national cemeteries and provides more of those headstones and other burial benefits. So those are your three pillars. You got the big umbrella of VA up here, Department of Veterans Affairs, and we break down to VHA, VBA, NCA. So Health Administration, Benefits Administration, and National Cemetery Administration. Now, how do we get here, though? That's always the big question, right? What's the history behind some of this? Well, I'm not going to give you like a full-blown history lesson here for this video. What I'm going to do is summarize what the VA History Office Records has publicly out there. It's definitely a good article to read. I'll do my best to put it in the description here for you. But we're just going to look at that article and summarize some of that history. Well, we're going to find that even before the United States was a nation, the concept of service-connected connection had existed. The Pilgrims at Plymouth Colony passed a law stating that any soldier sent out for the defense of the colony who returned maimed should be maintained competently by the colony during his life. This was ultimately the legal ancestor to the VBA. So even before the United States was a nation, around 1636, the Plymouth Colony said, we should be taking care of those who defend our colony. Now, we had a turning point in the Civil War. And this is more of where the birth of the VHA and the NCA came into play. So your healthcare side and your national cemetery side. So the Civil War ultimately changed everything due to the sheer volume of casualties. As you know, it was a very bloody war, and probably one of the bloodiest in our history, if not the bloodiest. The National Cemetery's roots can be found around 1862, where President Abraham Lincoln signed legislation establishing the first 12 national cemeteries. This was the first time the government took a formal responsibility for the final honors of those who died in service. So while President Lincoln is really setting the mission here for the VA, he was also establishing the future of the National Cemetery there through legislation. Now, the healthcare side, the VHA roots are really found in about 1865, maybe about 3 years after the cemeteries. So just before his death, President Lincoln again, making huge strides for the veteran population here. He authorized the National Home for Disabled Volunteer Soldiers. These were the first federal medical and residential facilities, specifically for veterans, evolving into the massive hospital system that we have today. So that's where we got our start when it came to the roots of the VHA and the NCA. So while VBA had its roots way much earlier, President Lincoln came along and really established more roots in order to take care of, again, him who shall born the battle, his orphan, or his widow and his orphans. Now, we move along in time. It would seem as we go through time, we may find a lot of changes in our history that occur because of different wars. And I think we've seen some of that here as well when it came to the VA. So World War I really gave ultimately the birth of the VBA, the benefits side. So we went from the colonies, the Pilgrim colonies, and really got a full birth after World War I. So following World War I, the government realized that a simple pension wasn't enough anymore. There was a small kind of pension thing going on there, but it wasn't enough. The military was now larger and more complex. So in 1917, Congress established a new system that included disability compensation, insurance for servicemen and veterans, vocational rehabilitation for the disabled. This consolidated the benefit side of the House into what we eventually have now called the Veterans Benefit Administration, VBA. So the roots were established and the birth was kind of in place at this point. Now, 1930, though, we have the consolidation. So prior to 1930, veterans programs were scattered across 3 different federal agencies. So while our government was putting together assistance for the veteran population and those who had served and borne the battle, the issue that was coming to light was 3 different federal agencies were handling all these benefits. We had the Bureau of Pensions, we had the Veteran Bureau, and we had the National Home for Disabled Volunteer Soldiers. So President Hoover signed an executive order ultimately consolidating them into the Veterans Administration. So at this point, we're not even at a department yet. So by 1930, we're still now as just a Veterans Administration. We're not even cabinet level. So for the first time, the 3 pillars were underneath one leader, which was the Administrator of Veterans Affairs. Now, the Department of Veterans Affairs that you see today ultimately elevated in 1989 to what we see and what we have. On March 15th of 1989, President George H.W. Bush elevated the VA administration to a cabinet-level department, officially renaming it the Department of Veterans Affairs, and that's why we have our title today. This gave veterans a seat at the table in the president's inner circle, signaling that the care of the widow and the orphan was a top-tier national priority. So that's how we got here. This is some of your history to the VA. Understand, we come from a nation of people who early on realized we needed to care for those who defended the colony at the time, the nation ultimately. Not only did we need to take care of that individual person who defended our eventually our rights and Constitution and our well-being, but we needed to take care of their families as well. And we've seen throughout history how that developed to maybe a tangled mess, different agencies handling the situation. Maybe there was some confusion there, and ultimately it was figured out we need to bring them together. And to really put it all in perspective, it was 1989 when the Department of Veterans Affairs was giving its actual title of Department of Veterans Affairs and actually formed as a cabinet-level department. So in essence, VA, you're really old, but you're really young at the same time. Your mission has been around way before the nation was ever a nation. And you were really only born in 1989 as a department. So ladies and gentlemen, I hope this is a nice little overview for you. I think it's always good, in my professional opinion and my experience, to get some of this information out there. We can always talk about all the rules, the regulations, the money amounts, and the evidence, but taking a look back at understanding what the VA is, what its mission is, and where it came from is crucial to our ultimate mission of making things smoother between veterans and VA alike. It's also a nice thought, I think, when we look at the history of it all, to see how veterans were being compensated or given pensions even, or taken care of even early on. So it only reminds us that we've got to continue doing that. We must continue taking care of that veteran population. Maybe even more so now than ever, and that may not be a fair statement either, as we have conflicts that are kicked off across the world all the time, and now we've got servicemen and women who are involved in another Middle East conflict, and now they're going to come back potentially injured, wounded, maybe not at all, unfortunately, and those families need to be taken care of as well as those service members and those veterans. So we can only continue to strive to do better and improve our rules, our laws, and our processes. So in order to do that, we got to know where we came from, we got to know what the mission is, and we got to know what direction we're headed in. So anyhow, I'll stay off my soapboxes there. I do thank everybody for your support and being here. I will get some more videos put together here for you. We are still headed to our National Veterans Advocacy Conference here this week. So we will continue helping veterans while we're there. If I run any at the conference, I will definitely sit down with the time that I have and help you out as well. So do know we may be a little slow this week as we learn more, as we get more information, as we hear from the VA, as we hear from their advocates, and as we network more to see how we can even do better and how we can progress forward as advocates for veterans. So anyhow, thank you, everybody. Appreciate you as always. I will see you next Tuesday. Take it easy, and don't forget to enjoy life just a little bit. You never know when it's going to end.